Tell me about your candy company. What inspired you to start it? Why even have a business? Why not just be a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a stay-at-home mom ever since my first, which he's 12 years old now. And I mean, I honestly did it just to teach my kids that you can do both and you don't just have to be a stay-at-home mom and kind of wait for the handouts from your husband. You can also do something to provide on your own and have extra income. And I mean, it doesn't really hurt to have dual income today. So, I mean, it just started from selling on Facebook Marketplace and online to like local mom groups and kind of I started getting a lot of questions like, "Oh, do you ship and how does that process work?" So I was like, "Let me just make it more of a real business." And I mean, I got my kids really involved. They were in all my photo shoots and they saw everything from A to Z. So it was really inspirational for them too.
Was Mike, your husband, supportive of you starting a business, or was he pushing back on it? What was his feedback on you saying, "Hey, I think I want to do more than obviously raise the kids, which is a job on its own, probably even harder than selling candy."
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, Mike was, and he still is. And I mean, he's been my number one supporter. So he sometimes helped me first thing in the morning to make the candy boards if I had like a wholesale bigger order. So it was really cute. We were like tag teaming.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's good.
Yep.
Does he have a sweet tooth as well, or is it?
We do. And I mean, that's why I sold it because I just felt like we were getting all the sugar in and I started losing love for it. So it's like, you know
Oh,
what? It's better I sell the business to another person who's going to love it and take over. So that's one of the reasons I sold it.
It's interesting. It's like for not comparing your candy to drugs, but for drug dealers, they always say, don't use your own or don't get high on your own supply, so to speak.
I've heard that.
You know what I mean? Because then you're just taking away your profits or snorting them or whatever the hell they do with drugs nowadays. But did you and Mike end up having a candy or two to yourselves in between and really tasted them out?
A little bit too much. And also my kids every day they're like, "Oh, we haven't tried this one yet," or "This is a new color or new seasonal candy." So it was just too much candy in my house and it
They were
was
coming up
yeah,
with excuses as to why to taste it. My kids do that
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Um, Tiffany's Candy Company, that's actually a very beautiful name, and it kind of correlates with the Tiffany jewelry brand, which is very high end. And the editor will put up some pictures of your candy that you had. It was very well packed. It was beautifully presented, which you thought through, I'm sure. What was it like putting together something so appealing to clients? How important is the packaging and the presentation for the luxury segment of your candy brand?
Yeah, so it was a lot of trial and error. So
okay.
I started, I don't even think I have any more pictures of when I first started. It was just so ugly and it wouldn't like hold really well. So I just started buying a lot of material and made sure that it was really nice and aesthetic. And when you first get it, it's presentable and all the colors pop through. So it had to be like a clear packaging and really tight so it holds the candy formation, I guess, intact.
Okay.
So that was my number one
What was the
thing.
challenges? Because you mentioned trial and error. Usually with error, there's some challenges there. What
Yeah.
were those challenges?
So, let's see how to put it easily. So I had to buy shrink wrap and figure out how to tighten it without making like the acrylic boards break or
Mm.
for them to rip. So there was like the candy would melt if I put too much heat on it. So there's a lot of that to make sure the seal that I was using is good quality.
How did you listen? Candy's not as perishable as like say other food products in some regard, but how did you like manage all this inventory? Because you have to manage not only inventory but the packaging. It seems like the presentation, the marketing, the website, the social media. What? How did you manage all of that? And which was the most challenging part of running that business?
So the most challenging was marketing.
Okay.
I was doing everything. That's why it never became as successful as I wanted it to be because I had to like figure out the best marketing techniques and that's where I was like failing a little bit. So that's why also it didn't skyrocket where I thought it was gonna go.
So marketing was the tough one, but were you ever like, did you ever wake up in the day? Listen, I've had different jobs, including packaging stuff and shipping and all these things. But did you ever wake up like, oh, I don't want to package this candy today?
Yes. So there's a thing called like fear of success, and that was like my biggest thing. It's like, oh my God, how am I gonna manage it? Like once I got like 25 orders, So
Well,
Mike and I woke up like at 5 a.m., did it all before our kids woke up. And like we gave each other high fives and we're like, we got this, we're gonna do this. So it's a lot of work to do it all by yourself. So Mike was a big help in the beginning. And then eventually like my kids started to help package it. So just like the fear of success, like by yourself is the biggest because I don't want to pay somebody to have like an assistant under me. It was still a small business,
yeah, yeah, it was a small business and it's tough. I do understand what you're saying, to have a small business and take it to that next step of hiring another person, you're really bleeding a lot of your profits. And I completely understand. I've had, uh, you know, I've had up to 30 or 40 employees at one time, and I've had, just me running stuff and started all over. And that it's not easy. So kudos to you to waking up that early. Are you still
Yeah.
waking up that early?
No, definitely
So
not. I was like 7:15, 7:30.
this is good stuff. So basically, the point of all this is sell your business, get out of it, and get some sleep. That sounds like
Yeah,
the way to go, right? Um,
right.
how did you come up? Like, there's so many businesses. I'm sure your friends have businesses. In Fast Lane Drive, you see so many people with businesses and companies and so forth. Why did you get into candy? Like like a lot of people go, well, Daniel over here is doing great. Daniel is in real estate sales. I may consider being a real estate salesperson or whatever it may be, right? Or a contractor or healthcare or whatever. Why candy?
So, I mean, I just always loved candy. I would always buy like the best candy and I always have a lot of candy in my house, right? So, I don't know. I think it was like before Easter, I saw something really similar and I was like, oh my God, this would do so well. So I started posting it on Facebook Marketplace, buying supermarket candy and making these boards with supermarket candy. Obviously, it wasn't as pretty or tasty or high quality, but I mean, it worked. There was a need for it. People reached out and asked questions. So I'm like, maybe there is a need for it. So I started just like buying really high quality candy, found a few brands I really liked that make that aesthetic candy, like different,
Pleasing to the eye.
yeah, pleasing to the eye. And then with seasonal candies like little bunnies for Easter and
Oh,
carrots and cute stuff. So I mean, it just kind of flowed. I didn't really have like a game plan going in or
it's
anything of it.
typical in our culture for whatever reason. We go head first into a business without a game plan. You're Jewish from Russian descent or just Jewish?
Jewish, Georgian, and
Georgian
Russian
descent.
descent,
Okay.
but
So typically it's like and I've been the same, like someone comes up with an idea, like, let's go, let's do this. I'm gonna make it great.
yeah, I
It's
had no experience like anything with money stuff. I don't know. I never really worked a day in my life before this. So
But that's amazing because you got a lot of attention for it. I mean, you even went on the news in regards to presenting your
yeah.
candy. I did see that. How was that? Were you nervous to go on like local
Oh my God.
television? Describe
Yeah.
that. Describe that for me. How they reached out, what happened, or how you got that whole thing going and how you felt.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a friend of a friend connection, and they said, "Oh my God, you do so well in the news. Let's get you on there." It was right before Mother's Day. Yeah, so I mean, they came to my house. They set up at my house, and my husband was like recording on the side, and I felt like so. Oh my gosh, it was really nerve-wracking because I'm not good in public speaking or even this. This is like a huge thing for me to like just talk and be recorded.
I promise I won't ask you any more four times Mike
I
questions,
was
so
just,
don't worry about it.
I was supposed to be all about that. So
Don't worry about it. No, I want to know. I want to know what kind of got you going to start a business. Not that there's anything wrong with women that are at home with kids. Like, if you put me in the house with a kid, I rather go work 16 hours a day, versus watch the kids for 4 hours.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
really hard, and so those moms are on a different level. Um, but it's also, I think that it speaks volumes of someone, a woman, for example, that's a go-getter, that's motivated, that's not only making sure her home is sound, but also trying to financially contribute to a family. And living nowadays, everything's so expensive. You guys have
Right.
an exotic car. I'm sure you got to pay for that, et cetera. So it's like, you're contributing. So I'm proud of you. And I think that's a very attractive trait for me, not for everybody out there, but for me especially. Now, if you're maybe a mega millionaire or a billionaire and you don't want your wife or girlfriend working, um, you want eye candy or whatever, and see how I brought the candy
Yeah.
back in. You don't want that. But for me, I think it's great. So you started. to work. You just said, I want to do something. I don't want to be at home. You loved candy. You got into candy. You lots of trial and error. You didn't know how to properly balance a checkbook or what taxes are
Yeah, no.
or what shipping costs are.
Learned a lot,
So would you do it over again?
but I wouldn't do it myself. I would definitely have somebody assembling everything because that was like the hardest part. That and the marketing. Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
think you learned that in order for it to grow, you can't do it all because if you're packing, you're assembling them. That's taking away time from you building the contracts, negotiating deals. What when you sold it, were you sad?
Honestly, for me, it was like a million pounds off my shoulders. It just felt so good. Big relief. Yeah.
I love that. I think I know what you talk about, what you mean by that, or what you're talking about. It's like almost a sigh of relief, like something that you're done with, and someone else can handle it. And you know what? I tell anyone that builds a business, you got to have an exit strategy, no matter what, right? Was Mike relieved when you sold the business?
He thought I could have got more for it, obviously. So he definitely thought I could have got more for it. I sold myself short, but again, it just aligned really well. It sold in 2 days, sold to another Tiffany, but in North Carolina. So it's on the other side of the US, which is totally fine. So